What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be going over how to locate spots and fish even before you get to the lake. If you looking at a new lake, you want to fish, or even if you fish a lake and you're trying to find new spots, or you want to find out what spot's going to be best before you even leave the house, this is what this video is going to cover. As you can see, this map here, got some crazy handwriting going on here. I got some numbers, and I got north, south, east, or west written on this map. So the first thing you want to do, let's say you want to pick a new lake. This lake here is Lake Corpus Christi, and it's springtime. We'll start with spring. In the springtime, let's say that today the wind's blowing out the south 15 to 20 knots. All right, I looked at the weather and I seen that. So the first thing, I pull up Google Maps, I write on there north, south, east, or west. And let's say I've never been to this lake before. So with the wind in the spring blowing out the south, you know that fish are going to be shallow, and you want to fish into the wind. You want to fish in. You want the wind blowing in your face really quick. You know that spring, the water's warming up, so the plankton with the wind blowing to the south is going to be blowing towards you. The shad and everything's going to be eating the plankton, so the catfish is going to be right behind it. The catfish are pre-spawn in the spring. They're eating everything before they spawn, so that's what's happening. So put north, south, east, and west on here, and the arrow. So the arrow is showing the wind's blowing out the south, so it's blowing towards those creeks and coves where I have the numbers in there. Now, any of those coves could be good, but you want to find the best creek or cove or point that has the shallowest water, but also has deep water next to it. Because in the spring, some of those fish throughout every day in the spring, some of them are going to be moving from the deep water to shallow. And also when you get cold fronts, those fish that are in the shallow water, they'll go back deep. So you want shallow water with, let's say today I would want shallow water. Shallow is creek or cove, but I want some deep water because, like I said, some of those fish are moving from the deep shallow to feed. And when you get a cold front, those fish will go deep. And when you're using big rod and reels, you still can cast far to get that deep water, if they retreat back in there if you get a cold front. So to find out which creeks or coves or points are the best, I use Navionics app. You can use the app, or you can use it on internet. I think the app's like $12, but the internet you can use it for free. Now Navionics, as you can see, it shows contour lines, it shows the water depth. So you look at each one and say, okay, this creek or cove is the shallowest. I want that one. It has deep water closest to it. I want to fish that one. Okay. You can also look to see if there's humps or little, points or anything out there on the Navionics. So that's how you would, find which creek or cove is the best, and then you fish it. So in the summer, in the daytime, I like to fish deep. You can use the same thing. You want to fish, you can use the same app to find out where the deep water's at. And when you're looking at the deep water, you want to see like points or humps. And you can use the Navionics app to see, oh, there's some deep water I can reach from the bank. There's some points. There's some humps. There's a flat next to it. And then you fish that. But at nighttime, you can catch fish deep in the summer at nighttime too. But if it's windy at nighttime in the summer, you want to fish shallow. Of course, you catch a lot of catfish, big ones, when the wind's blowing northeast, south, or west, shallow at nighttime. So like I said, pull up the app, find out where you want to fish at. Hey, here's a shallow flat. Here's some deep water next to it. Because in the summer at nighttime, those fish are moving from that deep water, and they're going to move onto that flat to start feeding. If it's really, really windy. Now, the thing about fishing for blues at nighttime, or channels, or at nighttime in the summer, is that you gotta wait. Sometimes you gotta wait for them to come up on that flat. Sometimes they'll come on there 11. Sometimes they come at 1 or 2 or 3. Sometimes they bite immediately once it gets night. But the key thing is that in the summer at nighttime on flats, if it's windy, is to look for, right at sundown, look for bait flickering on the surface. Now, in the fall, you can catch fish shallow and deep, day and night. So, the best thing to do would be to look for again, a creek or cove or point that's shallow but has deep water close to it, so you can catch fish deep and shallow. Cast rods, find out where they're going to be at. Now in the winter, once it gets like winter, this one right here applies to people that are really targeting big fish. In the winter, when it's cold, and let's say there's 5 to 10 knots wind, it's not really strong wind. I fish deep. You find the deepest water you can, and the Navionics really helps with that. You pull up the Navionics, see where the deepest water is at. Once you find, just say you find 3 places that are deep. Now you look at the Navionics and see which one has a hump next to it, or which one has a point, or which one has a contour lines. All right, and then fish that spot. Now, if it gets some wind in the wintertime, and we'll start with south wind. If it's cold and then you get 3 days of south wind and it warms up 50, 60 degrees, people that target big fish, they fish, you fish shallow then. You're not going to get a lot of bites because a lot of the fish will still be deep, but a lot of gizzard shad, when it gets windy, south wind, you get a couple days of south wind in the winter, a lot of gizzard shad, they'll go shallow. The south wind push some plankton, and it'll push it up towards the bank, and those gizzards, they can withstand that cold water, and they'll go feed on it, and the big catfish will come too. And a lot of times the key thing in the winter, when you get south wind, even north wind, really strong for a few days, is that it blows a lot of the fish kill. A lot of carp or shad or striper or anything that those big catfish eat, it'll blow them, the dead stuff, towards the bank. So a lot of people that target big catfish, they'll fish shallow in the winter because those big catfish go and eat those, that dead fish that's getting blown there. Like I said, you don't get a lot of bites, but the few that you do, or the ones you do, will be big fish. So that's just this map, and let's pull up another map so we can also look and see what's going on. All right, so here we have Lake Texoma. Now, Lake Texoma is a big lake, and it can be intimidating. But as you probably read, people that catfish it has a lot of catfish and a lot of big catfish you can catch from the bank. So same thing here. Let's say you want to go out there, and before you head up to that lake, you want to find out where should I fish at. So north, south, east, or west on there. You see, I got the arrow pointing to, this is for south winds blowing, and you see the south wind is blowing to the bank up there. So it's blowing up into that bank, to those creeks, to those coves, to those points. So you want to be positioned on those points up there, because the wind's gonna be blowing right in your face, but it's gonna be blowing to those banks. You don't even have to be fishing a creek or a cove, just a bank where the south wind is coming on. Like I said, you put up your Navionics and you can see, if you're fishing just a bank with no creek or cove, if there's humps on that flat, and the flat is just shallow water. It's just shallow water. So you want to find, a creek or cove that's shallow, or just a bank that's all shallow water. The south wind's gonna be pushing up on it. You're gonna have all the plankton, shad, everything there, and the fish gonna be right there behind it. So this is just another lake or another example of how to do this. You can do this with any lake. That's just the best thing to do. Just don't head out to a lake and just, I'm just gonna find somewhere to fish. You put up the lake, put up your Navionics, see which way the wind blowing, set up on that bank, and you're gonna increase your chances of catching fish way more than just going to the lake. All right, so there's that video. So I hope y'all enjoy it. Thanks.